What is going on, everyone? Phil here, and it is now time to reminisce a bit about the greatest games of 2017. And let me tell you, last year was a great year for gamers because it really didn't matter what genre was your preferred one, what kind of game you liked, what your skill level was, or what platform you owned, you were able to dive into a wide variety of great games. Platformers, old school throwbacks, the return of survival horror, open world exploration, RPGs, every kind of game was represented in a really great overall gaming year. So without further ado, let's go through my personal picks for the top games of last year. It's DARKSYDEPHIL'S Game of the Year Awards, the best games of 2017. Honorable mention, Persona 5. That's right. The game that probably in most people's minds held the title for Best RPG of 2017 is an honorable mention in my top games countdown. And you might say, why is that? Because it had a really outstanding graphical style, it had a crazy amount of content, long dungeons, great combat, much improved from the previous Persona games, dungeons that now included kind of puzzle aspects rather than just repetitive rooms, which was a big gripe of a lot of people in the older Persona games. Pretty much everything you can think of from the Persona franchise was approved upon in Persona 5, and again, you might say, well then why is this just an honorable mention? Well, it's pretty simple, folks. Sadly, I was not allowed to finish playing the game because Atlus, for whatever reason, even though I went within their very limited amount of requirements of what you could do in order to live stream or put up a playthrough of their game on the internet, I still received a copyright strike from Atlus stating that they apparently didn't like the fact that I was doing a playthrough of their game. I only got about halfway through the game, maybe a little bit further than that, and I'll tell you, I loved absolutely every moment of it. Now, I personally contacted Atlus to find out why this was. They basically said, oh, we don't know, it must be someone back in our home country of Japan who just doesn't know what they're doing, and within a couple weeks, I did get those copyright strikes cleared up. However, it just sucks because I was not able to continue and complete my playthrough, and I can't in good conscience put a game on my top games of the year countdown without completing it and letting you know my full perspective of it. So Persona 5, I really loved it. My viewing audience loved it. Maybe someday I can finally go back and finish my playthrough. It was definitely an amazing RPG. It sucks I couldn't finish it because of an apparent mistake by Atlus of Japan, but it's a great game and it definitely deserves props. Number 14, Horizon Zero Dawn. A PlayStation 4 console exclusive, Horizon Zero Dawn was a game that seemed to take elements from many other recently successful franchises and slap them together into a surprisingly coherent whole and a really unique and interesting gameplay experience. Featuring some of the best graphics of the year for especially an open world roaming game, Horizon Zero Dawn features a post-apocalyptic storyline where humans have survived a supposedly AI-controlled robot-infested planet that's run rampant. It's your job to try to figure out what exactly happened to this planet and possibly save the humans who are being constantly attacked by robot animals, monsters, and dinosaurs. And it features some pretty unique open world style combat and roaming and even RPG elements with gathering of materials, on the fly crafting, using bow, arrow, and other kinds of weapons to your advantage, and also parkour. Think a combination of, say, the recent Tomb Raider rebooted franchise would say the open world roaming of Far Cry, and you've got exactly what you're thinking of in the gameplay of Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, a lot of people were blown away by this game. Because I've played games like Tomb Raider and Far Cry recently, I wasn't as blown away. I can certainly recognize the game was very well polished and fun. However, I did feel that it was a little bit on the repetitive side, and I didn't feel that it was as unique as a lot of other people thought it was, simply because I had played these kind of gameplay elements in other games recently. However, it doesn't mean it's a bad game. I definitely enjoyed it, and if you did not check out this game and you own a PS4, it may be one that you definitely want to check out in the near future. Horizon Zero Dawn starts off this countdown strong. Number 13, Wolfenstein: The New Colossus. The follow-up to the Wolfenstein franchise reboot from a few years back does everything right if you're a fan of the old-school, hardcore, throwback, smash-mouth first-person shooters of yesteryear. If you like the classic Wolfenstein and Doom games from the 1990s, you're definitely going to enjoy Wolfenstein: The New Colossus. Featuring the follow-up plotline, the direct sequel, where BJ Blazkowicz continues in his one-man army-style combat to take down the Nazis in this what-if scenario, that if the Nazis had won World War II and taken over over America, what would have happened? Well, that's what this game follows up on. You're going to have a wide variety of characters, great writing, some really interesting humor, great scenes, but also some really old school hardcore first-person shooter combat. Although I will admit this game was a little bit heavier on the stealth rather than the more classic open run and gun style combat of previous first-person shooters in the franchise, I still very much enjoyed the new Colossus. The graphics were great, and overall, even though I think it was a little bit less entertaining as the New Order was, I do think that this game was a worthy contender for my top games of the year, and that's why it gets a spot. Number 12, Assassin's Creed Origins. That's right, the latest installment of the Assassin's Creed franchise that vied to do something completely differently and go a completely open world route in ancient Egypt, which was very different from the franchise, which had mostly been in more recent times in Europe and the like. Also, completely redefining the combat engine to now be a more kind of basic modernized combat engine rather than just timed button pushes, which had always been the case in the franchise up to this point. Also revamping all of the kind of projectile combat, having open world kind of exploration, tons of side content. You had to worry about animal hunts and all the like, as well as everything else that was going on within the game. Really, Assassin's Creed Origins definitely kind of modernized the franchise and made it feel refreshed and different. Now, of course, the game had a few problems with bugs and the like, and I'll be honest, the side content did kind of drag on and or didn't all seem too meaningful, but outside of a few of those kind of silly things, the game was very polished, had a ton of content in it, a really interesting story that, if you just followed along the storyline, didn't seem to drag on too long. It was a really good outing. If anything, I really liked Assassin's Creed Origins, but I do feel that this is a good first entry in trying to improve the franchise and make it more open world, and I almost think that this is like the first step in the right direction, and that if they take time to maybe every 2-3 years release a new Assassin's Creed game and add new elements like they did this time around with Origins, the franchise is on the right track. Now, let's hope that they don't take this game engine and every year pump out another installment with minor tweaks and tons of bugs like we've seen in the past. Assassin's Creed Origins, a good step in the right direction, and let's hope that Ubisoft can keep this up. Number 11, Middle-earth: Shadow of War. That's right, the follow-up to Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor from a few years back seemingly did everything right. Improved parkour, improved combat, improved recruitment of orcs, better graphics, more robust side content, a story that was just as good, if not slightly better than the story from the first game. Where can you go wrong? It just seemed like the game developers directly listened to all of the constructive feedback that was given to them from the original installment a few years back and made a much better outing this time around. And let me tell you, for the 20 to 25 hours that I spent going through the main storyline as well as the side content of Shadow of War, I really enjoyed it. So why is it only number 11 on my countdown? Very simple, because the game developers basically bent over to the wishes of the publisher, WB Games, and added in a completely superfluous, unnecessary fourth act that was all repetitive grinding gameplay of orc recruitment and taking over bases that literally has no place in the story or the game. There's no story elements whatsoever during this portion of the game. If you want to do it legitimately, it takes 10 to 15 hours. Or you can spend money on the new loot box structure that they included in the game to recruit more orcs to your army, which is the whole reason why this fourth act is in the game. So if you completely ignore the fourth act, this game is amazing. But for most people who wanted to see the true ending of the game, the final 5-minute cutscene, you had to suffer through 10 to 14 hours of grinding, or you had to spend extra money. That's unacceptable. And sadly, if it didn't have that fourth act and it just ended when it should have, this game probably would have been way higher up on my list. But knowing that there is this kind of really bad game practice in the game, I just had to give it a number 11 spot. Still a great game. If you're a fan of the original Shadow of Mordor, you should definitely check out Shadow of War, but just be warned, the fourth act is a ripoff. Thanks for watching this part of my Game of the Year Awards countdown, everyone. And if you enjoyed it, please consider giving this video a like here on YouTube, as well as subscribing right here to my DSP Gaming channel, where not only will I be uploading the rest of this countdown series, but also on a daily basis, I upload all of my gaming archives from my daily live streams, so you can expect tons of raw, unedited gameplay of both big AAA releases, as well as throwbacks and other fun multiplayer stuff in the future. If you'd like to join me live, head over to my Twitch TV channel at twitch.tv/DarkSydePhil every single day. I'm usually streaming 1 or 2 major streams of several hours of gameplay. It's a lot of fun with stream chat interaction, and my channel has grown tons in the past year. Give it a look if you at all have a chance. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time right here with the Game of the Year Countdown. Peace out.